Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. I have the wife with me.
Hello.
And we are getting into David Grusch. I don't like him. All right. I always expose my biases. I don't like him, but there is one thing that he touched on that for some reason we have more information than he does. I don't get it. He's a whistleblower. He's in there. But for some reason, we have more information than him.
I'm interested to see what he says.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear what he has to say. David Grusch, as I have coined him, the biggest fraud to ever be on JRE. He does touch on something that we've done some research on, and there's a couple of connecting things.
There's a couple weird things.
But for some reason, he can't talk about it, but he's talking about it. And don't even get me started on this guy. But we're
going to talk about all of it.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna talk, even though Dave doesn't want to talk at all. Let's get into it. Right here, I'm frozen. There I am. Let's get into it.
Other innovations that made its way into other U.S. classified programs over the year for national defense reasons, and it's a myriad of different things. So
the UFO folklore is that this is where fiber optics were discovered first.
Yeah, I'm not going to break the seal on anything we've discovered or anything like that. And it's a place I can't go to.
How limited are you in what you can discuss and what you can't discuss, and why? Why do they let you discuss any of this? Yeah,
so anything sensitive that I want to say as it relates to like U.S. government activity, whether it be intelligence stuff, military stuff, et cetera, I have to submit it through what they call DOPSR, DoD Office of Pre-Publication and Security Review. That is something anybody who's been an intel officer, anybody with like a clearance, has to submit that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, if you're writing a book about gardening, you don't have to. But if you're going to talk about anything military and intelligence related, you have to submit. So it's kind of a catch-22 for this office, right? They're only looking at it from a security perspective. They're not vouching for it or anything like that. And that's like any author, right? They could write a book about Navy SEALs and they're not vouching for the story. They're vouching that you didn't say any nasty code words. You didn't burn a specific ongoing classified program. And for them, I mean, I'm not in their OODA loop, but certainly it's a catch-22 for them where if they want to redact and they propose a redaction, they're like, hey, Dave, you can't say these sentences. You can rewrite it and resubmit. We can't necessarily tell you what agency said to redact it, but you're not allowed to say this. They would be basically self-certifying there's a there. So in my opinion, probably the policy is like if it has to deal with the subject, we're not saying anything. We're not proposing any redactions. As long as he's not burning a conventional program, we kind of have to allow him to exercise his First Amendment rights. And so I think it's like a catch-22 for that office is kind of the short of the long answer.
So this is essentially one of the very early ones, 1933.
Mm-hmm.
How many crash retrieval incidents have there been?
It is double digit. The specific numbers I do know, however, I can't discuss that. And I know it sounds like, I'm being coy or whatever, but this show, any other interviews I do, right? Foreign intelligence services are watching, and it's like, I'm not here to help Russia and China calibrate their intelligence collection. Like, Dave said it's this number. We missed a couple. Shit, let's put it out for the KGB, SVR, and GRU are now going to hit the streets to try to figure out which ones they missed. So I'm here to protect national security, and I'm just trying to put all the general topics out there for public conversation to hold our government accountable, really. So, because I'm here as a fact witness because we have a constitutional oversight issue because this program has not been reported to Congress in the appropriate way. And I can get into a senator I talked to that has died recently, so I can explain to you why I'm so sure. Besides what I read, which we can get into what intel reports I read, I did get some stuff cleared. So during my investigation, I'm like, you know what? I need to talk to somebody at the highest levels, right? So, and this will give you an idea of the kind of people we talk to. And this is the only one I'm going to talk about using their name because they died 2 years ago. So in spring 2021, I actually flew with a couple colleagues of mine to Las Vegas. And I met with Senator Harry Reid about 9 months before he died. And of course, he's a private citizen now. And I wanted to brief him on the topic, and I wanted to get his kind of thought leadership on it because, he was a Gang of Eight member, right? Which is the top most cleared senators and congressmen. He was the majority leader, for God's sakes, of the Senate. And I knew, he helped sponsor the AATIP program that I mentioned and where they looked at Skinwalker Ranch and some other things. And I wanted to understand, like, what does Harry Reid actually know? Like, why did he, give $21 million to DIA and Bigelow Aerospace for this? So I'm sitting there in Harry Reid's living room, right next to him with some other witnesses that were there with me. And he straight up says, he's like, yeah, I knew we had UFO material. I was denied access for decades. I tried to get access. And then he explained some of his efforts during AATIP. And I was like, holy shit, did the former majority leader just say, did he just confirm this to me as well? I was already talking to these amazing high-level people, but I have Harry Reid literally saying, yes, we have material, and, he knew it was non-human.
Did Harry Reid have personal experience with this?
I don't know if he's had any personal stuff in his personal life.
I mean, did he see it?
He said,
witness?
In terms of seeing the material himself, he said he was denied access for years, decades was his term, and he actually told me, on behalf of me, he had like a weekly call with President Joe Biden at the time, and he straight up said to me he was going to talk to President Biden about this issue, literally. And then what he was telling me about AATIP, I was like, holy shit, I have like 20 other people that told me this, dude. So the real history, what fucking AATIP was, because I think there's a lot of people out there that think they were looking at ghosts, Skinwalker Ranch. Yes, they went to the ranch as a secondary and tertiary objective. But the real reason, so like there's a document that came out a couple years ago through FOIA from the Defense Intelligence Agency. There was this special access program request that Harry Reid, you might have seen this, I think like George Knapp and company have reported on this, that he sent to the Deputy Secretary of Defense, William Lynn. And it was asking for one of the most serious SAPs you can ask for, what they call a bigoted, waived special access program. So waived means it's limited congressional reporting. That is a class of special access programs. And bigoted means it's like by name. And it was like, you can read the FOIA document. It was like, Harry Reid, James Inhofe, Lou Elizondo, et cetera. And I'm like, why are you asking for the most serious SAP to be created for a program that ostensibly is looking at Skinwalker Ranch and stuff? And it doesn't make any sense. So what really happened there, and Harry Reid, God bless his soul, made this disclosure a couple weeks after we met in the New Yorker, and you can look this up. I think it was like a May 2021 New Yorker story where he says, I knew for decades, and he made this disclosure, not me, so I'm going to say the name of the contractor. Harry Reid said this, we knew that Lockheed Martin had this material for decades. I tried to get access and I was denied. And specifically with the Lockheed Martin stuff, he was talking about during the AATIP program. And for the people who are on this program, I submitted this shit to DOPSR, got this cleared, so don't freak out, but I'm telling the truth here. So Lockheed Martin wanted to divest itself from this material at a specific facility that's known to me, that I provided to the Inspector General, like street address, all that shit, right? And the idea was if they made a security catcher's mitt for this shit, most serious SAP possible, the contractor and the other government customer, which was the Central Intelligence Agency, for that specific Lockheed material, and it was shit that they recovered from like the 50s and stuff. And it was like bits and pieces of like hall structure, shit like that. And so they were going to tech transfer it, and the $21 or $22 million was actually for Bigelow Aerospace to build out, facilities in Las Vegas and material analysis equipment. And I saw the staff meeting slides. I saw the paperwork. Like there's a paperwork trail I've seen on this shit. And I talked to the people involved in this program. And, even Jim Lakatsky, who ran the program, who's a retired DIA officer, PhD in engineering, even made this disclosure in his book, Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, page 152 to 153. And he also made a disclosure a couple weeks ago, I think it was on Weaponized podcast with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, where he's like, yeah, we had a whole craft and we broke into the hall and we gained access. And he ran that through the same, security process as I did. And so Jim Lakatsky, who ran this program, is also going on the record that he is personally aware of intact vehicles and everything. But
so they gained access. What does that mean? And by what method did they gain access?
The way he wrote it in his book, I can only infer it sounded forcible. So through some kind of, means, I don't know if it was like CO2 laser or something. I don't actually know how they gained access, but.
He doesn't know anything.
No, he just uses
He doesn't know anything.
Names and places.
Yeah.
And just sprinkles it in so it sounds legit, but he's not really saying anything.
Yeah. I've listened to this podcast 3 times because I was like, maybe I don't understand English.
No.
Maybe I'm just messed up and I'm not catching it. Maybe he's just too smart.
No. I think he wants to seem that way.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
But he's just like throwing in all these people's names, like buzzwords.
And well, that no, yes, very true, like buzzwords, and then also it seems like he's sprinkling the names, and also it seems like he's staying in the same vein. Now, okay, now you at home, you have to understand. Okay, so Jeremy Corbell, which somebody in the comments was like, you didn't say Jeremy's name right. You shouldn't be informing the public. I don't respect Jeremy Corbell. Okay, he's just one of those guys. He's one of these guys who's built a whole career on UFOs. And he's the guy who I played for you that clip where he's like, I saw a UFO. It was 12 feet from me.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? It's my life's work to film it. But I just decided I'm going to take it in. Not going to film it. I had my phone with me, but I just wanted to take it in. It's a liar. I'm sorry. At that point, he's a liar. I'm sure he's telling the truth about some other things, like his name and whatnot. But that part, as soon as I heard that guy's a liar. So Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, which is someone that he mentioned as well. Tom DeLonge. Say that name, Louis Elizondo?
Yeah, Louis Elizondo.
Okay, so all of these people, they all roll in the same group that is constantly building a career off of UFOs, off of having a little bit of information and not giving everybody anything. And they'll talk to Joe Rogan the exact same way that he's talking to Joe Rogan is exactly how they talk to Joe Rogan. They'll say, I can't talk about this. Mm-hmm. This is very classified. Don't want to get anybody in trouble. And then I'll tell you the next time I'm on. And it's like they're promoting a documentary when they're on, and the next time it's a different documentary, and they don't even want to touch on the stuff. Joe doesn't think to ask about any of it because he's not writing any of this down, and it just keeps going like this. It's been a cycle that I've been watching for years. These guys keep coming on. They say absolutely nothing. It's always a documentary. It's always a movie. It's always a new thing that they're promoting and trying to make money off of. And this guy he's exactly the same. The same. And you can start talking. I'm going to pull up a picture. I'm going to pull up a picture that made me really distressed. I'm sorry.
No, I like the rant. Yeah, this guy, I just feel like if it was that classified and this guy is part of the government, they wouldn't allow him to go on things like Joe Rogan and discuss it.
Of course not.
Like he would be disappeared if he wasn't supposed to be doing that.
He would be.
The government doesn't have whistleblower programs for classified information.
That's what I mean.
That's ridiculous.
That's what I mean. If he was a whistleblower just says whatever.
Yeah.
Like I always call Tucker Carlson, he is a mainstream media whistleblower. He's like, I know for fact. He was telling me, he's like, there's people at CNN who are national security reporters.
Okay.
He's like, I know for fact they get their talking points from the NSA and this department and this department. He's like, I've worked with these people. I know for fact. Mm-hmm. He's like, there's a senior one. She's a female. She gets her talking points. I go to the CNN site. There's only one female. That's a senior. I'm like, okay, so this kind of makes sense. I checked out the whole thing when he was talking about it. But Tucker Carlson has been like avidly saying, okay, there's corruption. We're connected to this, and I couldn't see it. He opens up.
Yeah.
To the point where they want nothing to do with him. David Grusch would be the equivalent of if Tucker Carlson decided to do what he was doing in terms of telling the truth and kind of whistleblowing and still worked at like CNN or Fox or any of these places.
Yeah, it's not really whistleblowing.
Exactly. And then decided, there's some stuff I can tell you, but there's other stuff I cannot tell you. I always get into this mode with this guy. Sorry, everybody at home. I'm sorry. This guy.
What he says doesn't really make sense.
To me, it seems so off.
And nothing he said in that I didn't find out in 15 minutes of research.
Oh, like nothing he said was new to you? Kind of thing?
No,
because it seems like the stuff that he can talk about are things that are written in books and already spoken about.
Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't make any sense.
Like he dropped Harry Reid's name like it should be shocking. Mm-hmm. Nope.
Well, yeah, because then when I looked into the articles, I was like, oh, this is like from, I think, 26. Like, it's been known. He's been on record talking about this for a while. So to say that you spoke to Henry Reid and then talk about all the things that are already in the public, that are already out there, I don't know. I don't even know if he really spoke to Henry Reid.
Yeah, and like Harry Reid did a full interview with The New Yorker that I'm looking at right now that was released in 2018 talking about how he knows Louis Elizondo, George Knapp, Robert Bigelow, who owned Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a secret.
It's not a secret.
And he's all like, hush, hush, like, I can't say anything about this.
Yeah. None of it makes sense. And I said before in the last video I made where I was talking about he's the biggest fraud on JRE, and I still stand by that. He really is. Like, there's been no other person that's been, people say The Rock because The Rock was, he was being very fake, but he's positioning himself for president. So I get it. He's like in politician mode. He doesn't know if he's going to be a Democrat or Republican, so he's watching what he says. This guy, on the other hand, I don't know. And this is the picture that makes me not trust him. This right here. Okay, so I was telling you about George Knapp. Mm-hmm. That's George Knapp right there. This is George Knapp. This is Jeremy Corbell. They're right behind him as he's at this hearing.
Yeah.
Which means they went there with him.
Yeah.
I don't believe anything he has to say. Anything. All these guys do is act like there are UFOs and that they know things and they can't say anything. And, I wish I could tell you this, Joe. I really wish I could tell you. You're on a podcast.
They were on the podcast together, right? Those two guys?
They've been on the podcast together. They've been on the podcast apart. Usually if George Knapp is on the podcast, Jeremy's with him. They're always it's just documentaries. It's just documentaries, YouTube channel, podcast.
Yeah.
And they're just always trying to promote that stuff.
So they're just like making money off it.
Yeah. Which, all the power to him. But like when you tell me this guy's a whistleblower and he's something real, I'm not believing it. How could I? Oh.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. But Skinwalker Ranch.
Something I found out that was
I'm still out there. I'm not somebody who's like, I'm not a debunker or anything.
No.
I still believe in Skinwalker Ranch. I'm not crazy, people.
Something really interesting that I saw that came out of that New Yorker interview with Harry Reid that I was talking about was that in the 60s, Harry Reid was a lawyer.
Yeah.
And he was involved with a case over some businessmen who died in a plane crash that was leaving out of Las Vegas.
Okay.
And one of the gentlemen who passed away his last name was Bigelow.
Okay.
So this gentleman who passed away, Bigelow, had a son who was 18 at the time, Robert Bigelow.
Okay.
Who ended up making a lot of money and purchasing Skinwalker Ranch in 1996. So he's been connected with the Bigelow family for years, Harry Reid.
Yeah. So he's connected with the guy's father.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
It's pretty interesting. Again, like I said, you can find out way more than David Grusch says just by looking online.
And also, I mean, not to interrupt, but this guy says that he is there to protect national security.
That's full of crap.
while at the same time whistleblowing, then claiming to be a whistleblower and also listening to the people he's whistleblowing on in terms of what he can and can't say. Mm-hmm. I don't get it. Not here to help Russia or China. He also said that.
Yeah, it's weird.
But then at the same time, there's another part, because I've watched this podcast so many times. He's like, the president should come out and talk about this maturely. It's like, but wouldn't that help Russia and China?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Like he's contradicting himself.
Of course. If this guy comes out in any documentaries or anything, oh man. Oh man. But honestly, if he does, that's going to like confirm it for me. Like if you're rolling with Jeremy Corbell and all of a sudden you have a podcast and it's called like, protecting national security, alien stuff or whatever, it confirms it all to me.
Yeah, like he's just painting himself as like a hero.
Yeah.
Which is annoying.
Yeah, very annoying. But Skinwalker Ranch. Let's get into Skinwalker Ranch, or let's get into whatever you had next.
Yeah, well, we were talking about Harry Reid. So he was a big thing. He was like a pretty high up senator, and he was based in Nevada. And so in that little clip, Grusch was talking about like $22 million that got funded to this secret project. So Harry Reid was the one who got this money to fund Bigelow, basically.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So there were two people who were governing the allotment of funds for projects like that, and it was going through the Pentagon. So basically what happened was Harry Reid knew these two senators that were in charge of divvying out the budget for defense. So he went to them and said, hey, I need this money, but it needs to be what they call black money, which is like totally classified. We can't say where this is going. And he explained to them what he was going to use it for. And because he knew them and one of them had had a UFO experience of his own, they were like really into it. So they gave him $22 million under the guise of some other project from the Pentagon. So they just kind of shaved him out a little slice.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Which is really interesting.
It's tax dollars.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Well, yeah, they can do whatever they want with it. It's like when like rich people go to their accountant and they can like hide taxes and things.
Yeah.
And deduct things. It's the same thing.
Wow.
Just with a lot more money in American taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, you're in the government and you're just like, bro, there's this cool thing I want to do. Can you like get it to me? Just like make it black. Can you make it black? Yeah, sure. What is it? Oh, it's so cool, bro. I'll bring you when we're done. I'll bring you. It's gonna be so cool. You're like, all right, fine. Here you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
So basically what they did with this was they didn't have a branch of the government who was investigating UFOs yet at this time.
Okay.
So they put it out for a public bid, basically, for somebody to investigate this. And Bigelow won the bid.
Okay.
So the money went to Robert Bigelow, who was the owner of Skinwalker Ranch.
And was already connected to Reid.
Yes.
What?
It's very twisted up.
Huh. So that seems like planned.
Yes.
Right?
So basically they gave Bigelow $11-something million to put in surveillance equipment at Skinwalker Ranch to investigate UFOs and other paranormal activities.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
You got 11 million just to set up cameras.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. And they built like, I don't know, I guess like infrastructure buildings and stuff like that.
Like around there?
Yeah.
Just
security.
Okay. Yeah.
Everything else, because nobody was allowed onto the property at that time.
But at the same time, as twisted and kind of planned that sounds,
yeah,
there is some weirdness with Skinwalker Ranch.
Yes.
Right?
100%. So Skinwalker Ranch, before it was purchased by Robert Bigelow, was owned by some people named the Sherman family.
Yeah. I remember you telling me.
So they purchased the ranch in 1994 as kind of their country home. They just wanted to settle out there. It's a 512-acre property, so massive land in Utah. Wow. And they only lived there for 2 years. Because there was a bunch of stuff going on. So the first thing they noticed when they moved in that was super strange was that every single door and window had a deadbolt.
Higher, the microphone. Get a little higher. Yeah.
You can't hear me?
Oh, well, I can't hear anything through here.
All of the doors and all of the windows had deadbolts on them, like extensive locks inside the house.
Yeah.
Which is kind of creepy to begin with, especially when you're out in 512 acres in the middle of Utah. Like not a lot of stuff going on there. And then they started seeing weird things like mutilated cattle and cows that looked like they were hit by lightning, like they were like scorched. But there was no evidence on the ground of burn marks or lightning strikes.
Interesting.
Yeah. What else did they see? There was a whole bunch of stuff.
The locks is a really weird thing.
The locks would freak me out.
Because it was inside the house, like inside inner doors of the house.
Yeah, and they saw crop circles. There were voices calling out in the night when they were inside the house. Strange birds and animals that were like acting weird. They didn't describe how, but that was creepy too. And then they saw a wolf attacking one of their cows.
Okay.
So they shot it and they had to shoot it 6 times before it ran away.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, right? They saw strange bright lights like stadium lights.
Mm-hmm.
A UFO, they said, was larger than 2 football fields and figures over 7 feet tall.
Really?
So they were freaked out.
Okay.
And they sold the ranch 2 years after they moved in, so in 1996, to Robert Bigelow, who was a millionaire and known to be a millionaire. But they sold the ranch for $200,000.
Whoa.
Which was at the time an average housing price for the area and very low considering how much land they were selling.
Yeah, I was going to say 500, like,
Yeah.
that's dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Like, dirt cheap.
So it's not like they were trying to, I don't know, like increase the value of this land with crazy stories.
By saying all that, yeah.
Yeah. So they were out of there. No, thank you.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's wild.
All right. Maybe he had a point to get that black money.
Yeah. Yeah. So Robert Bigelow then went in and he had founded a paranormal research group that was funded by the government money. And he was there for, I think, until like 2016. So almost 20 years.
Wow.
And didn't find anything concrete that could be like shown on cameras.
Yeah.
But all the people who worked there were like spooked as well. And everybody had personal experiences of paranormal activities going on in the ranch. Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's more paranormal than UFO, I would say.
Yeah, there's some of both.
Well, I mean, I guess the actual thing, the football field, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's UFO, but.
One of the legends behind Skinwalker Ranch is that in that area, quite a long time ago, there were Navajo and Ute tribes.
Yes, yes.
So the Ute tribe is still in that area. And they say that the Navajo put a curse on them in times when they were warring. And that land is cursed. And they won't step foot onto that land.
Really?
Because of the curse.
They won't step foot onto it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something about these native people. They they turn to some kind of Satanism or dark worship.
Yeah. So basically, what a skinwalker is it was like a witch doctor who has to go through certain rituals in order to become a skinwalker, and the ritual involves
like sacrifice or
sacrificing. I was trying to think of a good word. Thank you. Sacrificing somebody that you love and eating them.
Whoa.
And doing that takes away all your humanity,
of course,
so that you can shapeshift into animals and other forms.
Really?
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
Whoa. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that's Skinwalker Ranch.
Interesting. Has a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's a weird place.
So Grusch couldn't even talk about that. See what I mean with this Grusch guy? All that information. But the thing is, the real thing I think with him is that he doesn't, everything you just said, he doesn't have that information. I don't think he actually knows. He said that Harry Reid just kind of verified something for him.
Yeah.
But it's something that Harry Reid has already either spoken about or wrote about. So it's in my mind, it's like, did he even meet Harry Reid?
Yeah, you could have done a Google search on Harry Reid and found what I found.
And just said these things.
Yeah, exactly.
I really, like, I'm not even kidding. I think that's it. I think that that's somewhat what he did. I don't think he knows much because he doesn't actually know anything. He won't talk about anything. He just keeps saying, oh, I can't break the seal on that. Like Joe Rogan just brings up, oh, like fiber optics was like an alien invention that we like.
Yeah.
So he's, oh, I can't break the seal on anything.
Yeah.
So he's basically saying I can't break the seal. He's trying to allude to, yeah, and there's
more. Yeah.
And I know, but I can't actually tell you. That's exactly what Jeremy and George Knapp do all the time.
I think it's just one of those things where they don't know and they have no involvement in it. And instead of saying that, they want to sound like
something.
They're part of some insider club.
Yeah.
To sound cool.
You know, it's so funny that you say that because he said that exact thing. He said, and Joe Rogan very lightly called him out because he said, yeah, when I was doing all this research, he goes, you know, the guys who are in this, it's kind of, they have like the secret society feel. And he's like, and you know, like, I don't care about any of that stuff. Like, I'm not fazed by that. Like, I don't feel like I have he's like, I don't get a kick out of having knowledge that other people don't know.
Yeah.
And then, which is completely opposite to his appearance and what he's doing. And then Joe's kind of like, he's like, yeah, but you know, people are like that. They like having things that they can't tell other people.
Yeah.
You know? And it was almost like he was slightly touching on him. Like, you're
there
saying
you go.
all this to me. We've been sitting here for hours, but you're not telling me anything.
Yeah.
It's so wild. He even said something happened to him and his wife.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said the government showed that I could be touched at any moment.
Oh, and he can't even say what happened.
He can't say. He's like, oh, but I.
And then you would think you'd stop.
Well, you think you'd stop. You think you could actually say what happened, and then even to the point where he's like, I made sure to protect myself, and I'm not going to say how I protected myself. It's like, what is this?
Yeah.
So you're just like, something
like
something happened to me and my wife. I can't say what it is. I protected myself, and I can't say how I protected myself. Mm-hmm. Like, that tells me nothing happened. If I'm a teenage boy, okay, and one of my friends is like, oh man, there was this chick, oh man, and a lot of stuff happened, but I can't tell you what happened, man. But it was crazy. It was crazy though, man. And I just, man, oh, who is she? I actually, I can't tell you who she is, man. But it was wild. It was wild.
God.
What did you do at least? Oh man, I can't say anything about that.
There were several things, but
there were several things that involved possibly touching as it goes.
Yeah.
But I can't really get into that too much.
Then I spoke to Jenny down the block.
Right? Like, it's just ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, what else was Skinwalker?
Something else interesting I found was, so after Robert Bigelow was there, he sold it in 2016 to a guy named Brandon Fugel.
Okay.
I don't exactly know how to say his name, but
okay.
So he initially didn't want to be named as the new owner because there was a lot of like publicity around the ranch. Mm-hmm. So he bought it with a shell company that he named Adamantium Holdings.
Yes.
And adamantium is
it's the
metal
stuff that's in Wolverine, I believe. Yeah.
What do you think about that? Because I was trying to like...
Oh, they're just nerds. They're all nerds.
They're just all nerds. Okay.
Like, no,
it took me a minute because I was like, I know adamantium isn't a real thing, so I had to Google it.
It's just, I don't know, like, it's a shell company. It's the thing that protects Wolverine, because it's not that Wolverine doesn't have bones anymore. It's that the anti-animal, it covers his bones.
Yeah.
So those claws that come out, they're actually bones, but they're covered in that stuff.
Got it.
So I guess shell company,
Adamantium. Yeah.
Huge nerd move.
Okay.
I applaud it, but huge nerd move.
So then he came out later on with his name, and he said that he was the owner of Skinwalker Ranch. So he hasn't been doing a whole lot there, other than he's like been investigating UFOs too, but hasn't found anything distinct. But they started a show called like Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch or something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they're making money.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice to see that happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very interesting. Very interesting, the whole thing. I do like the legend of Skinwalker Ranch. Again, I don't think that Grusch has any real information that he's hiding or can't say, but I do still enjoy Skinwalker Ranch and the idea that there's UFOs and weirdness going on all around that area. And to my theory, probably going on because the thing that nobody ever talks about is that there's sacred land in Mexico, and we know about the Aztecs, pyramids there, sacred land in Egypt, and the pyramids there, and it's all very special.
Yeah.
And every single place in the world has these beautiful, sacred places, and America does too, and they just don't talk about it. They don't want people to know about it. That's my thinking. I think at one point there was some kind of pyramid in America, and they're just not talking about it. And I think if you were to trash a place like that, then it would all of a sudden become like a Skinwalker Ranch kind of place. It would become very spooked and cursed and odd things going on.
Yeah.
Same way that if you leave Egypt alone, you leave the pyramids alone, which they have, you go there and it feels like the most beautiful thing ever.
Yeah.
You go to Israel and there's like this wall of this very ancient temple or synagogue Very, very ancient, very, very long-standing wall. People go there and they claim that they have the most beautiful religious experiences. They touch the wall. Every president's been there. Every single president goes there.
Weird.
Politician. Yeah, it's very weird.
You'd think separation church and state wouldn't really send them there.
Even Trump, all of them.
Really? That's
Barack
weird.
Obama, you can see him. He's just touching like one finger.
He's like
it's called Kotel. Like, you know, all my friends have gone there. Hank, everybody I know has gone there.
Yeah.
They go there and they have their beautiful moment. And I think there is something like that in America, and I think that somebody made a mistake and destroyed it a while ago.
Probably.
And they shouldn't have.
Because there's no way there's like that kind of stuff going on in Mexico and not America when they're literally connected.
That's what I mean.
It doesn't make any sense.
That's what I mean.
And when there's like a ton of native tribes around.
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. So something pyramid, something was there, and it got destroyed.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have. And maybe it's Skinwalker Ranch. You never know. You never know. You know, it's just a theory, but listen, it's more than Grusch is going to give you on that 3-hour podcast that he did with the greatest podcaster in the world. Decided to tell him nothing. Joe, look at Joe. What do you think about Joe doing an interview like that?
I wish you would start calling people out more.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would be great. Because
You know?
there's so many things, like even when you, like if we're listening to a podcast together and you'll call somebody out and be like, that's crap.
Yeah.
Like, why doesn't Joe say that? Like, I feel like it would be a more interesting experience.
Yeah, it would. It would be.
And I don't know why he doesn't anymore.
It would be like rock star-ish. People would be like, oh my gosh.
Especially considering how many people he's spoken to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he has a pretty good, like, knowledge base, for lack of a better term.
Huge.
About a lot of kind of weird topics that people don't often discuss.
A lot.
Yeah.
All sorts of things.
So he knows a bunch of stuff. So he could like question people on things. And he doesn't have to be like rude about it.
Yeah. Even what Grusch was talking about, there's almost nothing that Rogan hasn't either talked to somebody about on the podcast or know somebody who would know about that type of thing.
Yeah.
Like from Tim Kennedy, who is, you know, a Green Beret, highly decorated, would know a bunch of things. Goggins could give him intel. He could reach in. Jocko could give him intel. The ex-CIA agent that he has on all the time, Mike Baker, could give it. Like, there's so many people that could give him intel.
And I just wish he would ask the questions like, okay, why are you here?
Yeah.
Like, why are you telling us this here on this outlet?
Yeah. Why are you doing this?
Yeah. Because, like, it's one thing to whistleblow to Congress, but quite another to do a publicity tour.
Yeah. Yeah, because he was doing a bunch of interviews. He went to Newsmax, News Nation.
Yeah.
There was a couple of other outlets he was on as well, and then to the Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird.
It's very odd. It would be incredible if he called people out. I'm telling you, when he was my age, when Joe was my age, oh man, he's had Candace Owens on his podcast, and they just argued. He was like, he had Steven Crowder on his podcast. They argued about marijuana and laws and stuff. Like, he used to really go at people. He used to be very high strung.
Interesting.
But you get older and you're just like, I'm almost a billionaire. I don't need to. Guy's like worth like $400 million.
I don't know.
He doesn't talk about it, but he's
like if I had that much money, I would be more into doing that though. Because like what are they gonna say?
That's why I'm in control of our finances. But no, yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because it's like, what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
You know, like Jordan Peterson often talks about, even when he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, he was talking about how people can't just outright go and like tell the truth. He's like, you have to get into a certain financial situation. He was talking about almost like affording to tell the truth.
Yes.
Like, you have to, you know, you can't say something to your boss if you have no money saved and you have no prospects of other jobs.
Yeah, you need like screw it money.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what Joe Rogan says that exact same thing. He's, as soon as I had FU money, he's like, I started doing other things.
Yeah. So it's like, why doesn't he just do that if he has that kind of money?
Yeah. I don't know. He puts it into different uses, you know.
I guess.
He started that club, a club that I want to go to. I want to go through that mentorship program that he has going on over there for stand-up comedians. But I guess he just uses it in good ways. He's just like, I'm chilling.
Yeah.
I don't want to get heated with people. Because he could. And there would be nothing people could say.
Yeah.
If he just said, Grusch, you're a liar. But you know what? That's not
Yeah.
healthy to have a conversation.
No, but he doesn't have to say that. He could say, oh, like there's a lot of talk online about you maybe not being super truthful. Like, what would you have to say to those people?
True.
Like,
That
there are
is
ways
true.
to do things
That is
to
true.
like get some information.
That's true. She's gonna be great when we interview people.
You can be diplomatic about things
Yeah, it's true.
and still ask.
Yeah, it's very true. I haven't had any of that in the interviews that I've done. I've never had to do that because, you know, with my interviews, I was interviewing people about creativity and, you know, artistry and stuff like that.
Like nice topics.
Yeah, so never got to anything like that. But I know exactly what you mean. And then I had like free flowing conversations and stuff. But yeah, definitely. If I'm in front of somebody that is telling me something, or maybe we're debating in a sense, or could be, yeah, you have to say that kind of stuff. You have to ask those type of things.
Yeah.
Just
And then
makes
it leads to a better conversation.
True. True.
'Cause maybe he has a really good answer. You never know. Nobody's
Yeah.
ever asked him.
Yeah, that is true. Because nobody asks him. Everybody's just kind of in awe that this guy's saying that he's this whistleblower and
Yeah.
that there's crafts.
Maybe
And
he would seem like less of a liar if somebody called him out for being a liar
Mm-hmm.
and he had some kind of explanation.
True. 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 I think he's a liar.
Probably.
I think so. There was a point, and I'm sorry, I'm saying this again on the podcast. There was a point where Joe was like talking about social media, and Grusch is like, "Oh man," he's like, "I've never tweeted in my life." He's like, "I don't have Instagram. I don't use social media at all." He's
one
like,
of
I
those.
don't use it. And Joe's like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, no." He's like, "I got Facebook like when it first came out. I was like in college, but other than that, he's like, I never use social. I don't have it." And then Joe starts talking about social media, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, my feed's just filled with car stuff." And I was like,
What?
"Oh, Joe, come on,
Come on.
come on, Joe, you're on Alpha Brain right now. You take those supplements. Come on. You heard that. You heard him say that."
Oh my God.
He was like, "I
And
don't
nothing?
use it," and then he's like, "Yeah, my feed's just filled with this." And then they just started talking about cars.
Huh.
But hey, you know what? Here's the thing. Joe's not going to do that, so maybe it's just up to us to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll do it.
that'd be great.
Come on, Grusch.
Somebody was telling me that we remind them of the people at Redacted, the husband and
that's
wife
cool.
that sit together and they have their interview
Yeah.
stuff. They cover topics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you again for being on the podcast. Do you have anything else?
No.
All right. Thank you again for being on the podcast. Hey, check out IamCoachColin.com. This is what MSNBC really stands for. Mainstream News Brainwashing Citizens. Check that out on the website. Discount code IamCoachColin.com. That's not the discount code. I'm like a robot.
You're so used to saying
I'm
it.
I'm a clone or something. The discount code is I am Coach Colin, all capital letters, all one word, one L in the name Colin. Gets you 10% off. Check it out, and thank you for being with us.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Like and subscribe.